Rest in your body. Rest in your body. Getting out of your mind and into the body. The breath. That's a good anchor. Always got your breath. For now. We have this breath. Just this breath. This is the only breath you'll ever take, is this breath. So the breath is a good anchor, because the breath is always now. Here and now, that's all we have to deal with. It's the 4th week of lockdown. It's interesting. Interesting experiment. There's the fear. Fear of the future. That's fear. It's future. Fear of something that hasn't happened yet. And then we have the breath. And we're back and we remember. So this is real. That's not real. Yet. Now is the only thing that's real. And our heads might wish to revisit what we've lost. Bring up loss, sadness. And then we have the breath. Then we realize nothing's lost. It's okay. Now, interesting that nobody can say when this is going to end, or what's going to come after. No certainty. No future to look forward to. We just have this moment. This is the only place where we can find relief from that suffering is now. It's okay. This is all you have to accept. Stay in the body, stay with me. This is the teaching. Nothing important coming out of my mouth, nothing that matters. You don't need to understand anything I'm saying. The teaching is in the gap, in the space. The breath is your teacher. The most perfect teacher. It's not seeking to complicate or understand. It's too important for that. Stay with me. Stay with me. Breaking free from the virus in your head. Compulsive thinking. It's possessed. Human beings sent them mad. Living in a imaginary world, past and future. Imaginary wars, imaginary conflict, imaginary problems, imaginary the virus. But you're breaking free because you're here, breathing. And you're watching. And you're noticing. And you're choosing now. You're choosing to come back. Habitually. This is your automatic response now, is to return to the present moment. Whenever you are lost, whenever you know you're lost, when you're lost, you're lost. But as soon as you know, you're back. And you're waking up from the dream in your head. Oh God, the word virus. Interesting. Maybe that's what it is. That insane thinking mind. Kind of a program with a virus. Anyway. Make yourself as alert and alive as you can be. So you're absolutely 100% here with me right now. Make yourself fully here on the breath. Senses alert and alive, fully awake, fully conscious. Are you here? Who are you now? Who are you now in this moment? Well, you're you, aren't you? is there anything wrong with who you are right now, in this moment? No. There's nothing wrong with who you are right now. Can you be any more than who you are right now? Is that possible for you to be any more than who you are right now? Of course not. So it would appear that you've already made it, that you are complete and whole and fulfilled, a perfect expression of consciousness in this moment already. That's the truth. That's the lie. You've been watching it long enough now to know that. That voice in your head that pretends to be you. The great deceiver. You've been watching it long enough to realize the tricks it plays. In meditation and mindfulness, we call that the ego, I, our identity. Who you think you are. It's not who you are. It's just who you think you are. And they're two very different things. The voice in your head that pretends to be you. Voices. There you go. The voice narrating your life. No. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. Yes. The whole world's about me. The lead character in your own personal little soap opera. That's the ego, the narrator of the story. And most people think that's who they are. And that's the virus. But you're breaking free. Because every time you bring your attention back into the present moment, that voice gets quieter. And something else starts to emerge. That's the ego is the virus that I'm referring to. The voice in your head that tells you that you are it, that has consumed your consciousness. And therein lies the root of your suffering. Now the ego, it's just learning. Layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of learning. And it starts when you're very young. Maybe even before you start to acquire language, the family you're born into, the culture that you're born into. And then there's this tiny baby, the mind is trying to get a sense of who am I? This identity starts to form. And then we start to create a little story about who I am, on this and that, and then every experience becomes interpreted through that story. Your experiences growing up, the culture you're brought up in, your beliefs handed to you by your parents or through your peers, and we're all going to form this picture of me. This is me. And there could be some really unhelpful messages built into that. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. I'm a victim. I'm ill. I'm this. And as soon as that little me starts to take shape, then everything is then interpreted through that mental sense of self. If I see the world, let's say, through my conditioning to be an angry, dangerous, threatening place, then that is what I will see. That is how I will experience situations. That is what I'll react to. And that is what I will create. If my conditioning tells me everything can go wrong and will go wrong and does go wrong, then of course it does. And you may even see yourself sabotaging things to ensure that it does. So some of you may share some of this madness. But my conditioning taught me to believe that life was a struggle. Go on, I really made it one. Of course it was a struggle. I made it a struggle. Because life's a struggle. I'm not good enough, well then I won't try. If I do try, I'll start with the intention that I'm not good enough, and then of course I won't be. See, right again. God, I've worked with people who thought they were unlovable. Who married somebody who didn't love them. Can you see? Can you see how once that me is in place, everything is interpreted through that. Everything is experienced through that. It's a program. And if you think you are your thoughts, if you're lost in that thought-based state of consciousness, which none of you are anymore, then you are a slave to it. And I do not use that word lightly. Because you think you are thinking freely, but your thinking is conditioned through your past experience. There's not one original thought there. Every one of them was handed to you. A series of random experiences held together with some superstitious learning, and that becomes our perception of the world. A self-belief, a belief about the world, and once we have that belief, it's a prison. It's a very small box. Because everything outside of that belief has to be rejected because it's unbelievable. And now we're ruling out 99% of reality. Because it's not contained with our limited understanding from our past. And this is the ego. Now stay with me, because if your mind is seeking to grasp, that is the ego grasping. And the ego can't grasp this. Because what I'm pointing you towards is free of this. And if it grasps it, then you are imprisoned again. So don't try. Because you don't need to understand this, because understanding, we stand under that understanding. That is just another layer of our beliefs, another prison. You know what I'm telling you already. There's nothing for me to teach you. All I am doing is connecting you to that knowing that is beyond your ego's understanding. And that's what will carry you through situations as they unfold through this crisis. Not your conditioning, not what's been before. That won't help you much. But what will help you through this is connection to that intelligence within you. There's also everything outside of you that you cannot perceive through that intellectual state of being. It can't understand anything beyond itself. And am I going? Have I lost you? Stay with me. Stay with me. Hold your attention here, because this is what's really important here and now. And the breath, and there's the gap, and you're free again. You're free again. You stepped out of the program. And every single one of you is already overriding this conditioning. And I would bet, even if you only started a few weeks ago, there have been tens of thousands of times already where your mind has wanted to go down some habitual, pre-programmed pattern of thinking that doesn't serve you. It causes you suffering. And you've observed that, you've seen that happening, and you have consciously chosen to bring your attention back to the body, back to the breath, back to here and now. You have consciously chosen to override that program pattern of thinking. That's freedom. That's freedom. To consciously choose where you focus your mind. Now the ego starts to develop at a very young age. So our beliefs, our self-perception. I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Catholic. I mean, they're all ideas of who you are. Is that who you are? Really? I'm a father. Who was I before I had children? Is that who I am? I'm a teacher. Well, if I don't teach anymore, will I cease to be me? These are not who you are. These are just ideas about who you are. And every single one of them is a perversion and a distraction from the truth. Stay with me. Stay here. So this idea of who we are is born and it grows. Every new experience is then added to that sense of self. And by the time most people are teenagers, it's tearing them to pieces. It can get worse. Now, egos can be inflated or they can be deflated, and don't think an inflated ego is going to let you off the hook, because that carries considerable suffering to it. Most people's both. A bit of a mixture of the two, and sometimes you'll hear them arguing with the two. But let's suppose you have a very low opinion of yourself. Oh, you're bad, you're wrong. Then you might act out from that opinion. Your choices would be based upon that opinion of yourself. If you thought you're undeserving of anything good in your life, then you would not allow yourself to have anything good in your life. Not consciously. Not consciously. I was doing some one-to-one work with a lady a few months ago who came to the horrendous realization that her husband and her ego were in absolute agreement. She thought she was useless. She thought she was worthless. She thought she should be treated like rubbish. She thought she was worth nothing. And so did he. She's divorcing both of them. But she couldn't divorce one without the other. Because she got rid of the husband and maintained that sense of self. She would replace him with another one just the same. She would have to. Can you see how it works? And you didn't choose any of this. You didn't choose this identity. Some random events, some random circumstances to your upbringing, and some superstitious learning to hold it all together. Which is why that early conditioning is so disproportionately important, because any new learning that comes later is experienced through that, is understood through that. That is not important. You do not need to trawl through your past to discover where this came from. Although sometimes as you do the kind of emotional work that we explored last week, as that clears in the body, you'll get a little flashback of where that came from. And you don't need lots of childhood trauma to cause you all sorts of problems in your conditioning. Oh, I saw a pattern of mine the other day which kind of blew me away. I couldn't understand why I never really achieved very much in life. And the first opportunity to do something, I'd sabotage it. And then the penny dropped. I got a picture of myself as a young child being told off for being a bad loser. And that 3-4-year-old's developing ego decided he was going to be a good loser. So good at losing. He didn't really like winning. A throwaway remark. Causing problems for decades. And we all have these little patterns of insanity. You're seeing them. Every time you bring your attention back to the here and now, every time you bring your attention back to what is real, you are stepping out of that egoic state of consciousness. You're connected to who you really are. Already complete, already whole, already perfect. Because the ego is always lacking. It needs to be more. It's restless. It needs to be added to. And therein lies your suffering. Now bring your attention fully here into the moment with me now. Absolutely here. Where is your ego now? It's gone. Your ego can't exist now. Your ego can only exist in the past and the future. It is the living past within you and projecting itself into the future through the story. But the ego does not exist now, which is why it's so desperately trying to drag you out of the now. Because when you're in the present moment, the ego cannot exist. It is through your mind that it comes into existence. Through your thoughts. The virus is fed with your thoughts. Now, thinking is a powerful tool if you are using it. What has happened is that the tool of the thinking it's got a virus. And it's taken over our consciousness. And as individuals, it's driving us to insanity. And on a collective level, well, look around you. You don't see squirrels behaving like that, do you? Or cats. I'm not saying that we return to the consciousness of a squirrel or a cat, but maybe we've lost something through the development of the ego, disconnected. So we return to the breath. We return to the breath here and now. And we're free of the ego. Now, because the ego doesn't exist in the present moment. Actually, it doesn't exist because the present moment is the only thing that exists other than in our minds. So because the ego doesn't exist, it clings to existence. Well, this expression attachment attaches to things. This is me. I am my car. I am my house. I am my job. I am my appearance. I am my religion. I am the books I've read. I am all of these things. And then I suffer. Because each one of these things that you think you are will be taken from you. Because, as the Buddha reminded us, all things are impermanent. All things must pass. And if you are attached, your identity is attached to things, then it is destined to suffer. Because each of those things will be taken from you. Maybe that's the lesson. One of the lessons from this crisis. The things that we thought we were. If I thought I was my car, then, yeah, this is me, I am my car, then I'm going to be in trouble next year because I probably won't be able to afford the new one. I can laugh at it, but if I was my car, then I would suffer. Because now I'll be less than who I was last year. And less than the person next door that's got the new car. So I couldn't enjoy somebody getting a new car because it would be a diminishment of me. How crazy. It's not a diminishment of me, it's a new car. I hope they enjoy it. Not there's anything wrong with having a nice car, unless it's you, and then you'll suffer. I have my house, oh no. Lost my job, can't pay the mortgage. If they take my house away, that'll be the end of me. No, it won't. Just live somewhere else. Unless you want your house. And then you might consider throwing yourself under a train or something. I am these things. I am my job, and I lose my job, then who am I? This is maybe one of the benefits of what we're going through, is a stripping away of who we thought we were. And that's rather wonderful, because that leaves you open to the possibility of being so much more. So much more than your attachment. So much more than you thought you were. Not that you need to be more, because you're already complete. Stay with me. Stay with me. This is it. I'm not talking to your ego. I'm not interested in talking to your ego. I'm not interested in to persuade your ego of anything. What I'm interested in doing is helping you step out of that virus and know for yourself. Stay with me. So, There's no ego now as it clings into this existence. This is me, I am this. I am my opinions. Oh dear. Poisonous things, aren't they? Got to defend my opinions, all right. Have you? Who cares whether you're right? Your ego cares that you're right. I'm right. Who's the I? That's right. The one that can never be wrong. How can we learn if we can never be wrong? Well, we have to be right. Because I'm right. If you're wrong, you need to know. And if you're defending your wrongness, that's ego. I am my beliefs. There are people around who will cut your head off for having a different belief to them. Oh, stay away from people like that. So determined, so attached to the rightness of their beliefs. This is me, that even to have a different belief is an attack on me, that means you should die. And I'm not just talking about religious beliefs. Even scientific belief can be a prison. Of course, science has its place. It's important. But theory can close minds. Because it limits the scope of your understanding to the theory, which rules out everything yet to be discovered. Most things are beyond understanding. Are you ruling out everything beyond your understanding until it reaches your understanding? That's insane. So stay with me. Come back. I'm not interested in talking to your ego. I'm not interested in engaging mine. Appearance. That's a big one for people, isn't it? Oh, I was a good-looking lad in my day. Cracking on a bit now. What do you think? Shall I dye my hair? What do you reckon? Dye my beard? I know what I do. I'll inject poison into my face. Trying to hang on to what was, because that's me. That's a big one for people, isn't it? Particularly women, it's particularly tough. Hanging on to a picture of who they think they are. Stay with me. Stay with me. And we're free. Free of that me, that self-perception, the voice in your head. How does it describe you? That's the ego describing you, telling you what you are. One of my favourite things to do with people when I do sort of one-to-one work with them is to take a belief that their ego's got hold of and has driven their lives, absolutely consumed their lives, and just look at it. Just see how stupid it is. Laugh at it. I am this. I'm a victim. Oh, bad things have happened to you. Yeah, okay. But I'm a victim. Is that good for you to carry that identity? Is that helpful? I'm a survivor. That's another ego, maybe a more healthy one. But I've just been you. And I am this. It's not who you are, it's the experience you had. I'm ill. Oh, the number of people I've met with sort of struggled with their mental health for years. Awful. And I might say to them, I might meet them for the first time and they'll go, hello, I'm bipolar. I'm bipolar. And I say, hello, I'm Adrian. How do you do? Yes, they may not be well, but say that's who I am, then we're trapped. Because how can you be well if you're ill? That's who you are. Sometimes that's a challenge working with people, to let go of their real identity, because if they let go of being ill, then who are they? Free. That's what they are. Free. And with each one of these patterns that you see within your ego, you are freeing yourself, releasing yourself from the virus. And sometimes as we watch, some of the patterns that we see are really unhelpful. God, you can, it was quite a shock to me to realise I've been a complete wank most of my life. I'm sure I haven't stopped. But what a wonderful thing to realise. So seeing your patterns is not always comfortable, but with each one you're seeing, you're peeling another layer away. And you're freeing yourself of this deception. So the ego clings on to everything, and it's always crumbling. Everything it thinks it is crumbling, so it's got to be rebuilt and reinvented. I've got to have the latest this, I've got to have the latest that, I've got to appear to be this, I've got to add this to my identity. And the more inflated it becomes, the harder it is to maintain. Don't think an inflated ego is going to let you off the hook. It's so painful. Don't you know who I think I am? Or do you not know who I think I am? Oh, you're not looking up at me. Oh, God, that's exhausting. It's exhausting. And everybody doesn't think of you in the inflated way that you think of you as attacking you. They're undermining you. Oh, no, they're not. Unless you think that's who you are. And that's impossible to defend. And then we're back to the breath. We're free of all that. Who you really are. It doesn't need inflating. Because everything that you think you are, no matter how inflated that is a very pale imitation of who you are. And all that time you hold on to that identity, this is me, then you are ruling out all of the other possibilities. And that's a pretty wicked shame in my book. And now we're back to the breath. Here and now. Stay in the body, because the body has no ego. We might have an ego about the body, how it should look. May not be very happy with our body. I suspect our body's not very happy with us. I'm not talking about judging your body, I'm talking about resting in your body, because the ego is the judge. Can you hear it judging you, judging everything? Sack the judge. No, I don't want to get too lost in this. I think it's important to be aware, but very important not to get too lost in this. But I want to have a quick look at the shadow, the dark side of the ego. If you are living through thoughts, through a perception of reality, then you need to be pretty clear that that perception is accurate. And if you're living through a perception, then you are, to a very large degree, controlled by that perception. And if that perception is given to you, then we are very vulnerable to manipulation. These thoughts, are they yours? Did you think of them all on your own? Or were they given to you, this identity? The perception of the world that you have, is it yours, or was it given to you? Does that perception serve you? Is it accurate? Because if we're living through thought, then we are driven by the program. Through our learning, our experiences, and our indoctrination. It starts when we're very young, when our parents hand on to us, with their very best intentions, their perception of the world, which was handed to them. And we assume that's reality. We assume that's how it is. And then we go to school. I'm not going to criticize teachers, because I've met a lot of teachers in my time, and without exception, the teachers I met are lovely people who teach, because they care about children. They're good, caring, decent people, and they want to contribute to the world. But so often they seem to struggle under the stress and the pressure, and something doesn't sit right with them, and it tears them to pieces, some of them. I've seen it. Good people torn to pieces because something doesn't feel right. What are you learning at school? I'm not saying education isn't important, but it's teaching us a world view of ourselves and our place and about authority. To always submit to the intellectual. To train the intellect at the expense of a much higher intelligence. Our perception is molded. We're taught to conform. And becomes our worldview. I mean, before all this crisis happened, I met an old friend of mine on the train, and he asked how you are, and I said, "Oh, I'm really busy. I'm worked off my feet." And he said, "Great. I mean, what kind of messed up world is that? Worked off my feet. That's great, right?" But they're so deeply embedded in our psyche. I think maybe just to stop for a minute. God, how many of you feeling guilty about stopping for a minute? Still rushing around trying to work, wow. It's so deeply embedded in our psyche. To whose benefit? It's a slave system. And you to look at banking and how money works. Well, why would you go along with a way of living that doesn't serve you? Because you think that's the only option you have. Because that's the only perception you've been given. And maybe that's breaking down now. I'm seeing this. This is, people are seeing outside of that now. And maybe this is one of the great opportunities that isolation as lockdown is giving us, is the opportunity to stop and maybe question some of these views of the world that we were given. I've seen lots of people really struggling with the media. I mean, seriously. Nobody believes it anymore. That the program is breaking down. People are questioning. And this is rather wonderful. I like my reggae music, roots, strictly roots. You don't need dread to be Rasta. But I do love reggae because for me it's music of our times. And roots reggae is about two things really. It's spiritual music. It's all about the ascent of human consciousness, what I'm pointing towards. But it's also about freedom from slavery. And to the Rastafarians, it's one and the same thing. The chains aren't here now, they're in here, and we're all slaves. Slaves to a mental system that does not serve us. And maybe they're right. And I suspect they are. That as you are becoming more mindful, you're becoming more present and stepping out of that program, you are seeing the dysfunction in the program. And as you step out of that program, you are seeing possibilities that are not contained within the program, outside the scope of its understanding. And that's very powerful. Come back to the body, stay with me. Stay with me. Don't get too lost in the manipulation of the mind. You can go down to some dark rabbit holes. I think it's important to be aware of how your perception is manipulated. But it is very important to keep your vibration high, to stay out of negative thinking and to avoid getting too lost in some of these rabbit warrens. Stay present, because what is ultimately important is the state of being that you bring to this moment. Just be aware, but take action or any decision from a place of presence rather than from fear or from anger, because that is not helpful. That is actually contributing to the problem. So as explored last week, if we are in fear or anger, then it's maybe best to do nothing for now. So we're breaking free. I'm quietly confident. I'm seeing this period of confinement as a great opportunity. People are questioning. They are looking for an alternative. They don't want to go back to how things were before. I don't think they need to. When I was a little boy, a very long time ago, there was a program on the television called Tomorrow's World. And they were looking forward to the distant future, to the year 2000 and beyond. And in the year 2000 and beyond, everything was going to be done by robots. You'd have a robot to clean your house. You'd have a robot to sweep up. You'd have a robot to do your washing up. You'd have a robot to make your bed. You'd have a robot to do all the dangerous work. There'd be no more dangerous work because a robot would do it. There'd be no more boring work because a robot would do it. In fact, there'd be no work. And everybody would be free. Free from the need to work, free from that trap, free to express, free to create, free to live. Why not? Why not? Why not? We've been so conditioned to believe that's not possible. That you have to slave. You have to pay debt. Why can't it be like that? The technology is already here, right now. The resources are already here. What the world spends on war in 1 year could provide all of that to everybody on this planet easily. The technology is here, the resources are here. All that is missing is the state of consciousness to break free from that old mindset and to see possibilities beyond its understanding. And that is what the Rastafarians call Zion. Free of the Babylon system. And the Babylon system is the worship of the intellect. The intellect is God. And we've given that voice in our heads, that supreme authority. And it's not very smart. But you are, when you're not listening to that. So this is you breaking free here and now with just this breath. Don't fight the ego, because the ego wants a fight. The ego wants you to bring it into existence through a fight. It wants you to battle it, because that is giving it life, giving it energy. But what it really hates is to be ignored. And every time you bring your attention back into the now and you're able to resist its temptations, you're depriving it of its energy. And it's getting weak. And it's going to try every trick in the book to grab you back. Have you met the new mindful me yet? It's there. So here's the things to watch out for. That word I. If you're hearing yourself saying that word I repeatedly, then 10 to 1, it's the ego. I think. Who cares? I do. Who's the I that cares? The ego cares. What you think, I think. I, me. God, that's the ego's favourite word, isn't it? Me. What do people think of me? What if they think this of me? You've got 7 billion people to control. What if they think this? Well, they will think what they think, because that's what they do. And it's not what they're thinking that matters, is it? It's what you're thinking. because you only think they're thinking that, and that's going on in your head. So stop it. I don't care what people think of me, because I don't care what I think of me. Because what I think of me is wrong too. Facebook. Oh dear, I've been drawn back into it. Maybe it's isolation. No, it has its purpose, doesn't it? It can be a bit of fun, but oh dear. I was thinking of calling it a facade book. This is the picture of me that I want the world to see. But they don't see me like that. They didn't like my picture. Oh no, they've wounded me. No, they haven't. They've wounded your ego. They've wounded the very thing that's been the root cause of your suffering. Why would you defend that? In fact, if you ever feel like you're being attacked or you're being threatened, but nobody is actually attacking you, what's being attacked? Just a thought, a self-perception, nothing real. So watch out for that word I, me, I. It's the ego's favorite word. The ego is always acting, performing. Do you do that? Play a role? I must be so many different people, I'd forget who I was. Appearing to be something. God, such hard work. Yeah. Come into the moment with me now. Is there anything wrong with who you are right now? There isn't. You're perfect, you're whole, you are complete right now. You can't be any more than this. You're a million times more impressive than who you've been pretending to be. You can just be you. Find that relief. Not having to be anybody anymore. Oh. Not having to maintain anything anymore. And then you might realize that you are considerably more impressive than you thought you were. And you're the real deal. You can't be found out. In fact, you're the very best in the world at being you. And for what it's worth, people really like that. They call it authentic. Oh, not having to be anybody. Isn't that wonderful? You see how liberating that is? Because now you're free to be all the expressions of you that you didn't think you were. What fun. What else does the ego do? Well, the ego will judge. Oh, it's always judging. Right, wrong, good, bad, me, other. And each judgment strengthens the self. The more right I make myself, the more wrong I make everybody else, until I'm the only one that's right and you're all wrong. Each judgment separates you from the whole. You know, I do a lot of my classes in London, and one of the things I really love about London is the whole world is in London. You know, I could have a class of 40 people, 50 people, and in that room there'll be people from all over the world, from every culture, every religion, every background, every belief, every colour, every race, every gender, just there in a room together. And when I bring them into the moment, when they're absolutely here, anchored to the breath, when that ego is absent, there is nothing in that room to separate any of them. But as soon as I made myself this, I have made you that. And that is the root of every war, pretty much all conflict, and so much human suffering. Racism doesn't start when you treat somebody else different because of their race. It starts when you identify yourself as being different. The moment I make myself this, I have dehumanized everybody who isn't. And now we're back through the breath. Can you see? Can you see how this is different? Now we're connected. Free of that separation. Can you see the possibility for everyone? There you go, that separation. Because for me, there's an other. That's the core deception. That's the original sin, maybe. When the judge was born. Didn't Adam and Eve lose paradise when they ate from the tree of knowledge, when the judge was born? When the virus first appeared in our heads? Judging, separating, disconnecting. And now we're back to the breath, here and now. And we're connected again, we're connected to that intelligence. That's not conditioned, that's not subject to the program, that's not infected with the virus. Maybe thoughts here sometimes, but they are directed, they are focused, they are chosen. They're not from ego. So what else does the ego do? Clinging and aversion. The ego clings on to everything that confirms the perception, and it pushes away everything that threatens it. Do any of you struggle with praise? Any of you struggle with praise? Struggle with praise? What's going on? Do you push it away? It's ego. I reject praise. Do you hang on to unhelpful people, unhelpful damaging situations? I used to wonder why people treated me, why I always came last. People treat me so badly until I realised it's because I let them. I was doing it, clinging on to it. Got a question from John. He says, are all ambitions product of the ego, or can they be real and worthwhile? Yes, they can be either. Ambitions can come from ego. I am this. I need to be this. This will add something to me. This achievement, that's ego. But also, as we become more aware, we might find that we're driven. There is a need to express and to create. I wouldn't call it ambition, because you're already full, complete. You're already whole. You're already abundant. So nothing is going to be added to you. But there may be a drive to create. Yes, very definitely. That is the nature of consciousness. It seeks to create and express. Look around you. Spring, it's consciousness expressing it. Yes, that's real and worthwhile. Is the tree trying to be a tree? Is it trying to be a more beautiful tree than the other tree? Is it excelling, and is it delighting in its sense of treeness? Is it its identity as a tree? No, it's expressing consciously, but could it be more perfect? So yes, there may be an ambition, a drive that comes from presence, but also very often it comes from ego. This will add something to me, and then of course it will never be satisfying, because the ego is never satisfied. And then of course that achievement, that thing that made me great, will be taken from me. Yes, I want to be a world champion. Well, okay, become a world champion, but next year you won't be world champion. You'll have to contend for your title and fight to remain you. So on that level of ambition, it will never be fulfilling. And the ego, yes, it can be filled with ambition to add something to itself, but there's a far more impressive drive that comes from presence, that is connected. Won't be any more than who you are when you've achieved it, because it's not about achieving it, becoming anything. It's expression in this moment. So the ego will cling on to anything that confirms the picture, and it will reject anything that threatens the picture. You may find it sabotaging success, or wrecking loving relationships because you're not lovable, or you just watch these patterns. Just watch these patterns. Just because you're rejecting something doesn't mean to say you should embrace it. But have a look. What's going on here? Well, somebody's giving me some praise and I'm pushing it away. Well, oh, that's ego there. Because if this person is right and they're telling the truth, then I cannot be the useless me. So some things to watch out for. Now, I've taken a real risk in giving you this information, because the ego will love it. Because the ego will seek to understand. It will seek to grasp this mentally, and that is most definitely not what I am pointing you towards. I am just giving you this information so that you can see your own egoic patterns, and you can see how your perception is manipulated. But all you really have to do, I mean, you can forget everything that I've taught you today, because all you really have to do is to focus on this one conscious breath. Can you see your ego trying to grasp that? Observe the deceiver and take conscious control over your life. And as we'll explore next week, that opens up enormous potential to change as individuals, but beyond that, we're going to explore how through your awareness you can actively start to project around you a world of your choosing, not of your ego's choosing, a world that you choose. And I'm sensing that maybe with hindsight this lockdown could be a wonderful opportunity. Anyway,